Hello and welcome to State of the Economy. Today we have with us Professor Govinda Rao, former Director of National Institute of Public Finance and Policy, and more importantly, a member of the 14th Finance Commission, who will discuss with us the big tectonic shift that we are witnessing in center-state fiscal relations following the recommendation of the 14th Finance Commission, which was accepted by this government. Professor Rao has been a foremost expert in public finance, and he also has had practical experience in some states. So he's the right person to really explain to us very simply as to how center-state finances are getting restructured following the Modi government's acceptance of some of the seminal recommendations of the 14th Finance Commission. Welcome to our show, Professor Govinda Rao.
Thank you.
Now, please tell us conceptually, what difference will it make to the way state finances are run today after the acceptance of the 14th Finance Commission recommendations by the government, which actually releases an extra 1,85,000 crore roughly every year of untied money to the states, and they can use it whichever they want. And some of the states have already come out with their budgets. Although some people say they're not reflecting some of the changes that the Finance Commission recommendations have brought about. So how do you see things change from here on?
Well, I mean, one has to really see how the things change as we go along, as it unfolds. You know, the basic issue is that the Finance Commission itself has gone back to the Constitution.
Okay.
And in fact, we wanted to restore the position of the union-state relationship that is envisaged in the Constitution.
Okay.
Now, when you do that, we don't make a distinction between plan and non-plan.
Okay. Which is one big thing that you have done.
Which basically implies, when you don't make a distinction between plan and non-plan, which basically implies it takes into account the entire revenue expenditure requirements, including plan and non-plan of the states.
Okay.
Which is one of the reasons why there has been a significant increase in the tax devolution.
10% increase, right?
There is a 10 percentage point increase in the tax devolution.
Yeah.
Now, that is one of the important things, which basically implies that now the states can now go about doing their own budget without having to have any pressure on increasing the plan size. And provide adequately for the maintenance of the existing assets. And at the same time, they can, for the new projects that they think that are important, they can allocate the money and then link it to the outcomes. In fact, you can have an improvement in the budgeting system itself.
So you're saying states will have much more freedom?
In fact, states will have a much larger freedom
to design their own program.
Now, what has happened over the last few years is the following. You look at the union government's own expenditure on the state subject and the concurrent subjects has been increasing.
Okay.
Union government spending on union subjects has been declining. Now the states have had to put larger and larger amount of their own resources for putting the matching requirements of the centrally sponsored schemes.
Okay.
Now, when you have much greater flexibility in
terms of... So the states had to go by a program designed by the center for them.
And then these are one-size-fits-all programs. And there is, and then obviously you have to give a matching requirements. And at some point, these matching requirements, it's a commitment that you take up, and then if this union government at some point of time comes and then closes it, your obligations continue to hold.
So the states are at the mercy of the central programs.
Precisely, and then it was distorting their own priorities. Now, I am not here to say whether the states have the priorities are right or wrong, because they are the elected governments. But then, given that the Constitution says that this is the union subject, this is the state subject, this is the concurrent subject. Now, states have sufficient flexibility and autonomy to spend money on their own subject. At least they cannot come back and complain saying that, look, we have not been given money in an untied manner to spend on our own subjects.
Okay.
Now is the time where in fact, there is a moral pressure on them that they should spend on
Now states will be...
public services required by the people.
Okay. So on health, education, housing, states will be accountable now.
Absolutely.
Totally. They can't blame the center.
Absolutely.
Saying that we were working, we were basically...
In fact,
sharing, contributing to a center's program.
No, now you see, that is one thing, and the union government cannot come up and then say, and get involved in the state subject and say that, look, I am providing the public services to you guys, to the people, and your state is not doing it. You reduce the political space in that sort of a thing.
Okay.
Now, I believe that...
So, in that sense, this is hugely political.
It's basically restoring the constitutional position as far as the 7th schedule is concerned.
Absolutely.
The 7th schedule to the constitution basically says this is a union subject, the state subject is a concurrent subject. The task of the finance commission is to estimate what is the requirement for the relative subjects with this relative union and the state government have to spend, and then make the allocations, and that's precisely what it has done.
Sure.
And that is one of the things. The second important thing the finance commission has done is that it has, it has gone back to the constitution again and done away with this distinction between special...
Tell me, has it been done away with? Because I'm told, even under the present dispensation, some planned programs are continuing, and states will be forced to provide matching, contribution. Yeah. Although in many cases they have been done away with. The center has reduced considerably. One figure that the former finance minister P. Chidambaram has quoted is 75,000 crore worth of centrally sponsored scheme funding has been reduced. Now it's up to the states to either match, put it from their side rather than coming from the center and continue those programs. And those programs being NREG or women and child welfare, all those things.
Yeah.
So will they continue or not continue?
See, what the commission has done is the following. It is not the intention of the commission that, the overall transfer should be increased. I mean, it would be nice if it is increased. In terms of the, as a ratio of the tax, divisible pool of taxes, as it is about 60% to 61% has been given for general purpose and specific purpose transfers. The theoretical position is that you need both general purpose and specific purpose transfers. That's a theory. General purpose transfers are given to enable the states, I underline the word enable the states to provide comparable levels of public services at comparable tax rates. The specific purpose transfers are given to ensure minimum standards of public services in respect of those services which have interstate externalities.
Okay.
Or
like health?
Or for redistributive reasons.
Okay. Health, education,
it can be in elementary education, it can be health care, again. But then you don't need 66 of them. You don't need 66 programs. Now what the Finance Commission has done is, it has not chosen which specific purpose transfers you should continue.
Okay.
We will take this much of a fiscal space for the general purpose transfers. Finance Commission is only a temporary body. It is not a permanent body to monitor and see the specific purpose transfers.
So who will monitor this?
We will leave it to the central government, union government, as they have continuing to do it. But then we have created, there is an interesting recommendation, there is a chapter called the Towards Cooperative Federalism, wherein it says that these schemes should be, we leave this much of a fiscal space for you for doing these specific purpose transfers. And then these schemes should be chosen, designed, and implementation scheme should be worked out in a cooperative manner wherein both the union, the states, and the domain experts are involved.
But that institution needs to be created, right?
That needs to be created.
That's a very important
That's an important
part of the
recommendation. And then we, our own view, though it has not been expressed explicitly, is that you don't need so many of them. You need 10 to 15 of them. Now you look at what has happened in the budget, union government budget. The various transfers that are given, the grants that are given, the apart from the finance commissions, revenue deficit grants, and the calamity relief money and the local grants, they have classified into 3 categories. Some of them they have delinked altogether, they have discontinued altogether, which relates to the block transfers which the planning commission used to give. There are others where they say that they are changing the matching ratios. Now, if you look at those, 9 of those schemes constitute 80% of those matching ratios thing. There, if you look at carefully, the states maybe, if you want to have the same level of expenditure as in the past, states will have to spend 30% more. In respect of those. But and then there's the third category wherein they say that it is fully funded. It is actually not fully funded. It's the same level of matching ratio continues, and that has retained. Now, in terms of GDP, 0.84% of the transfers out of the 5.7, 0.84% of the transfers are for those categories where the same ratio will continue. And that has continued to be what it was in the past. And the matching ratio part, the change in the matching ratio part is somewhere about 0.5%.
Here, I want to ask you here, Professor Rao, I think what you just said is very critical. We need to have an institution in place which is part of the new cooperative federalism framework, which actually helps the states and center together to design the right schemes.
Absolutely.
Now, who takes the initiative on this? Do you think Niti Aayog will do something, or who will do it?
I think, the point is...
We don't have a planning commission today.
The first thing that they have to do is to take a decision on that recommendation. In the
that decision report, hasn't been taken, right?
In the action taken report, they have taken decision only with regard to the tax devolution and grants, and he said in respect of other recommendations, we will be reviewing the decisions and taking the decisions in the future.
We'll take a small break here. Very interesting. Come back to this. Please don't go away and keep watching RSTV. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are talking to Professor Govinda Rao, a member of the 14th Finance Commission, on some of the far-reaching changes that have come about because of the recommendations of the 14th Finance Commission. Professor Rao, you were saying that so much more money will now come into the states' hands directly, and it will enable them to design their own schemes, work the way they want. But you said there's another recommendation which says that we need an institutional system which enables the states design the right schemes, expertise. They need expertise to design schemes which will bring optimal benefit for the money that extra money that they've got, and where they can sit with the center, and the center also needs to sit with them, and as an equal partner, discuss some of these changes that need to be brought about in the development schemes specific to the needs of the states. Finally, it comes to that, right?
Absolutely.
Some states don't need Narega.
Absolutely.
Right. Some states don't need rural roads because they already have rural roads. Some states don't need extra funding on education because they've achieved 100% literacy. So we are a continental state. We are like some 20 countries. So now, how does this system fall in place? I think this is the most critical aspect of your recommendation.
Well, the system, first, as I said, they have to accept this recommendation. Once they accept this recommendation, they should really work out how do we have this institution built. It is quite possible that they can entrust the Niti Aayog. With that, where the Niti Aayog will bring in the respective central ministries, because after all, these centrally sponsored schemes are initiated by the union ministries. The respective union ministry, as well as the state governments and the domain experts, and then take a broad decision on the total number of schemes that they need to take, and then work out the details. That is that is one possibility. The other possibility, there are already a number of schemes that are there. Pick up, in the case of the first one where they have not changed the matching ratio, 5 of the schemes constitute 80% of the grants. In the case of the second category, where they have where the matching ratio changes, 9 of the schemes constitute 75% of the grants.
Okay.
So you don't need 66 of them.
Yeah.
You can focus on this, 10, at the most 10,
So
12
the states
schemes.
can now
And then
collapse them into smaller number of
things,
schemes.
consolidate them, get greater flexibility in the implementation scheme, and then the respective union ministry and the state governments and some domain experts, so that you have the right set of incentives that are put in place, and you can get them to do that. That's one of the things that the Niti Aayog can actually do.
So you don't agree with some of the apprehension that finance ministry had, center had, before accepting these recommendations. There was apprehension whether they are giving too much fiscal space to the states, or whether the states would be responsible enough to spend them carefully, because historically it has been seen that states, especially during elections or before elections, they are so profligate. They spend on laptops, televisions, giving goodies to the. Do you think that some of those things may discredit this whole system? Is that possible? I'm just raising this issue because if you see, even the CAG is more focused on central schemes and central spending. I'm told that at the state level, the auditors are not so active. So a lot of time, money wasted at the state level does not even hit the media or hit public consciousness. So is that a problem?
I have 3 answers to 3 different questions, sort of parts of the answer. One is that when the term of reference for this commission says that it doesn't say that you look at only the non-plan side, unlike in the past. You have to take into account both plan and non-plan.
Non-plan, yeah.
Now, which basically implies all the planned revenue expenditures will have to be taken into account, and the grants given by the planning commission works out to somewhere about 5.5% of the divisible pool.
Okay.
So if you have 32% that was in the past, you have another 5.5%, that makes it 37.5.
Of the total tax.
That's right. This finance commission said that we will not give any specific purpose grants or any discretionary grants, unlike in the past, and the amount of money saved on that account constitutes about 1.5% of divisible pool.
Okay.
Which basically means up to 39% is there. So we are talking about the difference of 3%.
3%, okay.
Okay. So it's not that there has been a much larger increase as it is made out to be, but at the same time, this has put a certain amount of limit on the amount in terms of the fiscal space that is available for giving specific purpose transfers, number one. Now, whether the states are more profligate or the union government is more profligate is a question that has to be discussed. States are responsible.
But there is a view that states' fiscal position is better than that of centre.
Now, in fact, you see, there was a time when the Tamil Nadu government started the midday meal scheme, everybody, cried wolf on that.
Yeah.
But then the union government takes up and then said that we are going to nationalize it. And the entire thing has been done. If you really, in other words, union government is responsible to the electorate it has. The state governments are responsible to the electorate it has.
Okay.
Now, once you have that, there are some states who will actually use it for providing the public services. At least states do not have a complaint that we have not been provided untied funds. Now that they have the untied funds have been given, there will be some states which will be using it for that purpose. This will activate intergovernmental competition in terms of providing public services as you go along. I am not for a moment saying that all the states will do well. There will be some states who will do well, but then the people ultimately will realize that, look, this is...
In a democracy, people will vote with their feet.
Absolutely. Not only that, you've got to allow them to make mistakes if you really want to set things right. As you go along. The issue is when the Constitution says that this is your responsibility, and the Finance Commission has to respect that and go about doing that. So that's the second part of the thing. And the third part of the issue is that this proliferation of the centrally sponsored schemes that has gone on at the union level. And then the type of conditionalities that have been put in place, it has completely distorted the resource allocation. It has also, there has also been a much greater deal of, proliferation of subsidies and transfers. If you look at the subsidies, open subsidies and transfers, who gives more? Considering all that.
Center gives
absolutely, absolutely. Now, in terms of the attention, Controller and Auditor General also audit. The Accountants General, there is an Auditor General, auditing the thing at the state level as well. The reason why it doesn't get such a big thing is that, center spending is much more and the numbers are bigger and it catches everybody's eyes. And then particularly when it comes to the natural resources, for example, where the union government has it is in the union subject, whether it is coal or whether it is spectrum or whatever. When it is in the union subjects, and much of it is non-transparent. Now, of course, the media has to raise a lot more of things with regard to natural resources at the state level itself.
Sure.
But as far as the union government is concerned, given the magnitude or the size of the cake, there will be much greater attention on that. But definitely scrutiny-wise, there is, but that also implies that, there has to be much greater participation. Now, in fact, there is one other recommendation which I want to mention.
Or do you think this institutional mechanism that you have recommended to oversee cooperative federalism, that it should evolve in an orderly way, should that monitor some of the schemes at the state level?
I am not...
Or at least the outcome, some sort of outcome budgeting.
Certainly they can do that. Certainly they can do that. But I think there is a much greater need for an institutional evolution in the country. Because in this country we don't have an institution for sort of intergovernmental bargaining and conflict resolution. No, and the National Development Council, is a part of the cabinet resolution, and the Interstate Council is housed in the Home Ministry, which is a part of the union government. So you need an impartial arbiter. You see, the Constitution had not envisaged Finance Commission to be a temporary body. Constitutional Article 280 says that the President shall appoint a Finance Commission within 2 years of the commencement of the Constitution. Thereafterwards, every 5 years or earlier as may be required. It doesn't say that the Finance Commission after submitting the report should die. It doesn't.
It doesn't say.
And the constitutional experts say that the idea is that the Finance Commission will be appointed and it should continue for 5 years and then until the new Finance Commission is appointed, and if you have an institutional mechanism like that, that can monitor because that's an independent body. Otherwise, you need an independent monitor.
Tell me one more thing. You've also been an expert on GST. In fact, you were one of the original proponents of goods and services tax. Now, GST is going to be implemented in the next 2 years. Hopefully, we'll have a constitutional amendment. Mr. Jaitley promises in the next 6 months. How will GST mesh with this process? Because GST will create another change in the way center-state share indirect taxes, right? So, how will GST mesh with this process?
Well, I would only say the following. This is one of the steps in restoring the trust of the states. There is a tremendous amount of trust deficit that has happened over a period of time. One of the things this Finance Commission, unlike the 13th Finance Commission that has done is, you see, there were two parts to the Finance Commission's term of reference itself as far as GST is concerned. One is what would be the implication of GST on the economy.
I'll tell you why I'm asking this. I had spoken to Dr. Reddy when he took over as chairman of the Finance Commission. He, in one of my conversations, he told me that I'm waiting for details of GST, how GST will evolve, so that I can take that into account in my recommendations. Now, that's why I'm asking you this.
Now, that's precisely what I'm saying. One of the term of reference is to see the implications of GST on the economy. Second thing is mechanism for compensation. As far as the first is concerned, since the GST has not, that animal is not seen yet, we do not know what the implications on the economy are. And we did not want to go about giving a flawless GST or this or that, and we did not want to, we wanted them to evolve. That's their sovereign responsibility. As far as the compensation is concerned, we said that, there should be compensation for 5 years, 3 years 100%, whatever the rate structure that you go, and fourth year is 75%, fifth year is 50%.
Which Mr. Jaitley has more or less agreed.
That has been agreed. It's in a sense, it gives a measure of comfort. Now, whether, at the end of the day, given the larger fiscal space that we have given, untied funds that we have given to the states, possibly a little more of confidence states would have in terms of plunging into this particular
into
thing.
GST. So that's an interesting point you make. Yeah, yeah.
There is a little more confidence.
Confidence, yeah.
But at the same time, I think...
Even the apprehension that they have about GST may go, may dilute because of this finance commission transfer.
Yeah, no, but at the same time, there is a lot more of confidence in building measures that the union government will have to do in taking them on board.
Okay.
Constitutional amendment is only a small thing.
Okay.
And, I mean, in principle, everybody is agreed and constitutional amendment will happen.
Sure.
But then thereafterwards, there are a large number of negotiations because you have 29 states and 2 union territories with legislature and you have a union government. The interest of the union government and the states do not coincide. Interest of the producing states do not coincide with the consuming states.
So,
huge amount of bargaining is there. What they should do is, whether they want to do it as 2016 or 2017, what they have to do is month-wise targets they have to fix. And they have to work out all the steps.
Monthly timetable.
Monthly timetable you have to fix and then fulfill them.
Sure.
Otherwise you cannot have that. I mean, I'm afraid, and that work has not happened.
Has not happened. Yeah. That's a good advice. Thank you very much, Professor Govinda Rao, for talking to us.
Most welcome.
That's all we have in this edition of State of the Economy. We'll be back with you next week. Thanks for watching.